Thank you everyone for joining in. This is yet another session of Madeira. And today I'm very happy that we come to the heart of the issue, right? We have been saying this series will be about Indian heritage liquors. And with Keenan, I kind of agree, I'm thankful that we are getting right to the heart of the issue. I'm very happy to have Keenan Marak with us. He's probably our youngest one for us to interview. Is still 25, right?
Yes.
Yes. So, that is youth, that is hope, and that is new possibility. Welcome to the panel, Keenan Marak. And for those who don't know, though it's, we have been kind of putting it out everywhere that he's young, he's done something which nobody before him has done. He's the first one to put Bitchi, which is the rice beer from Meghalaya, in a can and take it to the market. And that's why this interview is so important. And that's why the questions today that we'll try to answer are so important. That, we have been so far talking about, can this be done? Can somebody turn heritage Indian liquor into a product, beyond the Fenies and the more well-known ones? So Keenan here has done this. So what we will be talking about today is, not can this be done, but how has this been done and what are the steps going forward? So Keenan, welcome. Thank you so much for doing this with us. I'll probably start by a very basic question. I mean, I'm not too sure how many who will watch this video will know about Bitchi. Rice beer is something that most people understand, and many Indian states have rice beers of their own. What makes Bitchi special, and what made you feel that this should be put in a can?
Yeah. So Bitchi, let me just start by telling you what Bitchi is. So Bitchi is the traditional drink of the Garo tribe. So from the Garo Hills region. Yeah. And Bitchi is, for us, it's not just a drink, it's deeply rooted in the cultural cultural and social practices of our people. It is a symbol of community traditions and celebrations.
Okay.
So a lot of other states have rice beers as well, and all of them are unique and special in their own way, right? Like we have Apong from Arunachal Pradesh and Zuto from Nagaland, and I think Zuto is a little sour and sweet. So all the rice beers from different states, they all have their own unique taste, that I would say. And what makes Bitchi different is that it has a very sweet and smoky taste. The smoky being the unique aspect of it. And it's actually a clear liquid, unlike Zuto, which is, I think it's a little milky from the rice sediments. So this one doesn't have any sediments in it. And so
where does the smokiness come from?
The smokiness, actually the earthen pot, right? It is made in an earthen pot. So that is smoked actually. And let me just tell you how it's made. So Bitchi is made with sticky rice, the traditional starter culture called wanti, and it is kept in an earthen pot called the diktom. So the wanti is also smoked, right? So the smoky flavor comes from that mostly, and even the earthen pot, it is smoked so that as a way of disinfection as well. So the smell comes from that. The smoky taste comes from that.
Okay. So where did you get the idea of canning it and taking it to the market? If that was a moment of inspiration.
Yeah. So during COVID, I was experimenting with winemaking, and after I was done, after it was ready, I would call my friends and tell them to taste it and give me feedback. So during those times, one of my friends suggested that I try making Bitchi, the traditional rice beer.
Mm-hmm.
So I tried to make it. I watched a lot of YouTube videos, and I did my own different experiments as well, but I failed in all of them. So I was really just, I really just wanted to know how to make it. So I traveled to a lot of villages in the Garo Hills region, and then I met a lot of traditional brewers who I interacted with, and they taught me how to make it over a period of a few months. Yeah, it was a little
Okay.
difficult actually because it's a very natural process, right? There's even the yeast is made traditionally. So keeping all those factors, it's not very standardized, right? So you can get a lot of spoilage as well.
So what changes did you have to bring in? Because, when we talk about a small scale heritage liquor, um, the production practices can be very small, can be very unique. But the moment you talk about volumes, the moment you're talking about canning it and taking, shipping it, you can't depend. I mean, I'm not too sure, but I'm guessing you probably can't depend on those traditional processes alone. So what changes that you have to bring in as a process?
Yeah, so I don't want to change the brewing process much.
Mm-hmm.
I want to keep it as authentic as possible because our company, our startup is about preserving heritage and culture rather than
Yeah.
changing it. Yeah, but bring it into a more modern light and make it more mainstream. But so we recently got a grant of 10 lakhs from the Northeastern Council to do to
Mm-hmm.
standardize the starter culture the yeast that makes the rice beer, the Bitchi.
Mm-hmm.
So we should be starting by December. We should be starting the research by December. So hopefully it'll be done within a few months.
And how have, I mean, and I've seen you have taken it to music festivals and wider market than where it is consumed. How has the new audience responded to it? What's the feedback so far?
Yeah, so during festivals, we have this huge amount of crowd all the time in our stalls. And even if they can't find it, they ask all the other stalls, right? So they
Yeah.
come and tell me that people are asking for you. And yes, and the last time we did join a festival, I think we sold out 3,000 cans in just 2 hours, right? So I think that the customers really love this idea, and they uh, and even on social media as well, we've been getting a lot of messages from outside the state showing their support and love, which I really appreciate, and they really want our product to be available in their region as well. So hopefully.
Yeah. What I'm really happy about is that media has taken interest. I mean, I've been seeing stories about you and the brand. And also, I mean, what in many of our discussions came forward is for heritage liquor to do well in a wider market, it also has to be seen as an aspirational product, as a cool product, right? So it can't be, um, the uniqueness has to be there. But the point is, unless the young ones or the new consumer looks at it as aspirational, um, it really gets that scale of consumption. So have you been, I have seen that you have been able to do that to some extent. Like Seven United is seen as a cool product to be seen with. Uh, was there a branding agency that you went to? How did you crack the branding code?
First of all, thank you for saying it's cool. Yeah. So I have a friend. He did his designing degree in NID, I think,
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Jorhat or something. Yeah. So we work together a lot. We discuss a lot of things, and almost everything we do takes a lot of time since we'll be disagreeing a lot. And then, yeah, so yeah, we wanted to make it cool, but but still let the designs be more traditional. And I think it's cool because people are embracing their own culture and traditions now. and they see
Yeah.
the importance of preserving the heritage. And yeah, I think, and preserving heritage in this world where a lot of new technologies are coming up. I think it is important to preserve the heritage. And uh, yeah, I think other people, our consumers, see that as well. And
Yeah. Yeah.
as for the cool aspect, we try to do whatever we can to try to make it cool as much as possible. And I think because I'm young, I have that young touch that we bring to the
Yeah.
product.
You know, going forward, I mean, I know you still have a long way to go, but let's say, 5 years down the line, we'll love to see S7 United come out of every state, right? Every state has their own heritage liquors, and which is what we have been discussing throughout. Um, do you think, uh, it took a lot for your innovation to come out? Do you see this as a huge challenge that may not many others will be able to deal with? Or do you foresee that this will catch on? What you have done will probably have examples or have kind of inspire innovators in other states, and you will see a lot more action in this space in coming years.
Yeah. So I think we will see a lot of action in the coming years, because even checking the comments on the reel that went viral, right? The
Yeah,
Backstage with Millionaires reel. So people were commenting that even they had the same idea and they wanted to do it, but I started it first. So I think a lot of people will try to do it. It is difficult actually because it's not standardized, right? So you have to be the one to standardize your own heritage liquors,
yeah.
because if not you, then who, right? So yeah, I think there'll be a lot of action in this segment.
In terms of government support and sales policy, how hard or has it been easier for you than for others? What's your outlook so far?
Yeah, I'm not sure about the others, since I don't know a lot of other startups that are doing the same thing.
Yeah.
But our government has been very supportive. We got a grant from the government of Meghalaya. I think we got like 2 lakh rupees from them. Uh,
Hmm.
and we are also being incubated by Prime Meghalaya, which is a government incubator, which is partnered with IIM Calcutta. Yeah,
Hmm.
so I've met the chief minister many times, and every time I meet him, he's very supportive. He's like, "What do you need? What can I help you with?" But he is a very busy man, so I have to finish. I have to tell him I have to cram up all the problems into a 1 minute presentation.
Yeah. Yeah.
But he tries to help in every way, and including the commissioner, or and the secretary, I think the secretary to the government of Meghalaya, right? He has been very supportive, Sir Vijay Kumar. I think
And in terms of sales, let's say in terms of taking it out of the state, can you do that, or are there procedural challenges that you will have to solve first?
there are challenges. As for Meghalaya, I think they're coming up with a new policy where rice beer is promoted, since
Hmm.
he but she got the GI tag. So, getting the GI tag and not making it commercial does not make sense, right? It's like France getting the GI tag for
Yeah.
champagne.
Yeah.
You can't sell it anywhere else. So, as Assam has introduced a new policy for the heritage liquor, which is really good, and I think even other states should follow the Assam government's policy as well.
Okay. So any plans? I mean, to let's say bring it to bigger cities, and uh, or do you want to test waters in Meghalaya first, achieve scale, and then go out?
So we are discussing with a few distributors from Goa and
Hmm.
other states, but I can't give a guarantee as to when we'll be able to scale up our production, since right now we are not even being able to keep up with the demand in Meghalaya.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah, yeah. So any questions from the audience, you can type it out in the chat while we address the last question, and then we'll take the questions from the audience. So, you know, Kiran, I think I don't know how much reach we have, but I'll kind of will try to take your word to the industry. Any kind of partnerships that you want, or any kind of support that you want from, let's say, more established players or other larger leaders from the sector. Uh, Anything that is kind of on your wish list, if you can say that right now.
I think the main partnership that I'm focusing right now on is the distribution aspect, since
Mm-hmm.
I mean, in Meghalaya, I might have a few experience in this, like distributing it, right? I can do it myself, but when you're going to a different state, there are different policies, uh, different tax rates, and I think that'll be hard for me to manage. So yeah.
Got it. So anybody who can help with distribution or understanding of the market
Yeah.
dynamics in terms of alcohol. Yeah. Okay.
Oh, we're
Okay.
also actually looking for investments uh, so that we can scale up our production. But it's not like we want any investors, right? We want investors with experience. So being a little
Yes.
on that.
I mean, this is a very niche sector. Somebody who understands this. Yeah. So you have the first question, and it's from Ruth. How are you working on balancing original methods of brewing with the need for modern quality control and distribution methods? I think this was also our first question. But if you can go into the specifics of, if you have to scale up tomorrow, Ruth, correct me if I'm wrong, uh, then what kind of change will you have to bring into this brewing process?
So we have been talking to this brewing equipment manufacturer. So we want to customize it so that it is still made in the traditional way, but in a larger scale. And also we have been standardizing the starter culture, right? So with the standardized starter culture, we'll be removing any uh, unnecessary microorganisms which might
Mm.
cause spoilage, and so that way we can scale up our productions. And
Mhm.
so, but we are trying to keep it as traditional as possible, but some things have to be standardized. um, we are trying to make it in the earthen pot that it is traditionally made in. But again, the traditional pot has to be smoked for like a few months before it's ready, and it also has to be kept water also has to be kept inside, so that it keeps seeping in the water before it's ready to actually brew. So it takes time. So we might be collaborating with brewing equipment manufacturer, and yeah, so that we can customize it and make it more traditional than just Western type of machines.
I mean, I wish we had a similar chat with Hansel from Casillofeni in one of the last sessions. And I think this is exactly the question that we are also discussing in that if you have to scale up Feni and still do it in the traditional process, how do you see that process happening? There is also a second part to that question. And she's saying, are there any concerns about the commercialization or commodification of these beverages in the mainstream market, especially since sometimes the method of brewing is tribe specific? Uh, which is probably, we probably tangentially answered this earlier when we said, do you think the consumer and their palates is kind of ready for something which is so niche, so unique, and so tribe specific?
I think the consumers are ready for that, but the way we brand ourselves is not as a tribe specific. We are we brand ourselves as rice beer from the Northeast, as I do know that we have different unique rice beers from different states. So, I mean, we will be how do I tell this? So we will be offering different flavors, and in each of the designs, it'll be represented from that state and that specific brew. But even
Hmm.
it's unique in its own way, it's mostly similar, except some rice beers are sweet and some are the sour type. So I think there's like two main categories, right? The sour one and the sweet one. So we're focusing on the sweet one right now, since it's actually a little harder to standardize the sour one.
Mhm.
Did I answer the question?
Yes. Let me know, Ruth, if you're happy with the answer, if you want, if you have a follow-up question. I think the audience so far hasn't exactly tested that many rice beers as a category, right? It still hasn't opened up.
Yes.
So for the consumers, it will still be a new product. So to understand nuances, it will take some time. Uh, yeah, I guess on those lines, we have a question from Tanushree. You spoke about GI tagging and how it is linked to commercialization. For that, or even otherwise, it will be important to maintain overall quality and sound documentation, not just for your brand, but for other future players as well. As an early mover, are you documenting and also standardizing process as you go along?
Yes, we are documenting and standardizing the process as we go along, since actually initially when we first scanned our rice beer, it started exploding. So we had to fix that. And after we fixed that, the can started leaking. So we had to fix that again. And then since we were selling out really fast, I think we will make it today. It'll get sold out today itself. But
Mhm.
then during the festival season, we had to make like 3,000 cans. And that is when we realized that some of the cans were exploding and some had a very reduced shelf life even after we fixed the uh, ex exploding cans. So yeah, we are documenting it. And since I studied chemistry, botany, and zoology, right? So I'm doing what I learned in class.
I was going to ask that. I mean, that do you have a food scientist who is working with you? I think, this is going to be extra hard for other innovators who don't have a degree in chemistry. Um,
Yes,
or maybe they will have to hire a food scientist who understands the brewing process, etc. Uh,
yes.
okay, there is a second part to the question. She's saying, related to the heritage that Bitchi carries, so much of the intrinsic value of it comes from the story behind it. So how do you plan to tell that story as you introduce it to new markets?
One. So uh, I think the reason why a lot of consumers resonate with us and they buy our product is because they can empathize with our story. And what we plan to do is spread the cultural drink of the Northeast throughout the world, right? And telling the story of how it's made and the traditional folklores behind it
Mhm.
is important. So we are planning on creating a kind of partnership with local musicians and local artists who actually tell traditional stories through their music or their art. I mean, in my hometown itself, I've seen a lot of those. So I will be discussing with them once we start expanding to other states, so that the story is told and it is preserved. And
Okay.
as for Bitchi, I mean, as for the process, right? We are also outsourcing our production, at least 40% of that, to local traditional brewers, so that they are also supported, and they have financial income from our startup as well.
Okay. Any other questions? Please put that in the chat room or probably unmute yourself. But Keenan, I'm so happy because as I said, last few sessions we have been discussing the theories of it, but here you have what you have done in a very short while is kind of a tell us about the process challenges, uh, the brewing challenges, and it's so great to hear that the state government is supporting you because so far in all our conversations with the industry, we have heard about challenges due to policy, challenges due to regulations. So, and we are only hoping that governments will wake up to the potential that heritage liquors have, not just in the domestic market, but also as ambassadors of Indian culture. So happy to see that the Meghalaya government is supporting you so completely and thoroughly. Um, so anything any last comments, any last words for the consumers, for the market, for the governments, anything that you want to leave us with?
Yeah, so about the government support, right? I mean, the government is very supportive, but I think like the ministers and everyone is very supportive, but the employees are a little slow they usually don't want to help actually because it's government mindset, right? I mean, it's a government
Yeah.
employee mindset. Yeah, so that is a huge problem for us since we have to keep going to the office again and again, telling them that we need this, we need that. And we have a new tagline. So that tagline is embrace tradition and taste the revolution. So what we are trying to do is start a revolution where heritage liquors are embraced and it becomes mainstream throughout the world.
Yeah, I think about again these procedural challenges. We talked about this earlier too. That does having a body, a industry body for Indian heritage liquors, does that help? I know this sector is too small right now. There are not too many players, but this is also probably the time when something should be instituted, which talks about the unique challenges or unique possibilities of this sector, because that is even for I mean, government, I don't think it's very easy to understand or see the future that this sector has, right? So maybe different people coming together uh, and making it easier for the governments to kind of see the potential that the sector has. Uh, I mean, that's our wish list as Indian culinary agenda, that we'll probably see that, and if you can have a role to play in that, see that body come up. Tanushree, you have raised your hand. I mean, do you have a question?
Uh, Hi, Keenan, and thanks, Om. I raised my hand for two reasons. One, I really personally wanted to congratulate you, Keenan. Uh, and this feels very special. I am from Northeast, so for me, it feels very special and very personal. So, congratulations to see this on the shelf. There is
Thank you
one
so much.
thing I wanted to ask you, and this is, taking heritage to the market is always very sensitive, right? Because as much as we want it, there is always a lot of questions which comes from inside about, uh, are you doing it right? It is a fine balance that you have to strike. How has been the reaction from, the uh,
Uh,
from
Right.
the custodians, from the tribe itself? How are, what are they looking forward to as you do it? I would really love to know that.
Yeah, so the Garo tribe has mostly been very supportive. In fact, whenever they go out of the state, they take a few cans to share it with their friends from outside the state. And they are very proud to say that this is a product from Meghalaya, from the Northeast, since I think, so yeah, and even the local traditional brewers who we outsource source it from, even they want us to bring a few cans back to them so that they can also try so that they also want to see what they are what they are doing, what we are doing, and which they are also involved in. So I mean, what I'm trying to say is that even though we are a startup, we try to focus on community involvement so that there's no how do you say, yeah, so that there's no resentment and other things.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that we try to get the community involved as much as possible. And I think even though it's sensitive, I think that this can be used to empower communities financially and vocally, and bring them recognition.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Keenan. I mean, all of those very important issues, and thanks for putting them on your drawing board right from the start. Um, you know, again, hope to see you. I mean, we'll hope to see you in at Madeira in November in Goa. And I'm just so happy that we had a whole 30-minute conversation, and it was mostly hopeful. It was mostly about that things are moving and they will move for sure. Thank you so much for doing what you're doing. And I don't, me and the whole team, we can't wait to get our hands on a 7 United rice beer very soon. Uh, Thank you so much for doing this. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.